Hello, my name is Ed Trippel. I'm with Integrated Resource Management, Fisheries and Oceans Canada. The title of my presentation is Progress with Rope on Demand Ropeless Fishing in Atlantic Canada and Quebec. The Department is supporting ropeless fishing as it is seen as an important emerging management measure to reduce serious injury and mortality to large whales. It addresses Canada's Species at Risk Act, the U.S. Marine Mammal Protection Act, and furthermore, DFO is committed to implement low breaking strength gear by 2023 in commercial non-tended fixed gear fisheries in Atlantic Canada and Quebec. Financial investment in experimental ropeless fishing has been provided by Fisheries and Oceans Canada through the Atlantic and Quebec Fisheries Funds, Canada Nature Fund for Aquatic Species at Risk, and the Whale Safe Gear Adoption Fund. Others include the Pew Charitable Trust, Innovation Solutions Canada, and Canada's Ocean Supercluster. The Whale Safe Gear Adoption Fund is designed to support the adoption of new gear types. These can be grouped into two key categories: entanglement alleviation, or basically self-release, and entanglement prevention. $20 million have been made available over 2 years, with DFO funding 34 projects. The funding has been given for domestic manufacturing, trials, purchase of gear, and adoption by harvesters. The manufacturing components of the Whale Safe Gear Fund include the Assured Innovations, DevOcean, and JASCO Applied Sciences. Gear introduction has been led by the Canadian Whale Institute as well as others, and gear tested with harvesters include EdgeTech, Ropeless Riser, Smelts, Assured, DevOcean, Subsea Sonics, Fieldboy, Desert Star, and Long Soaker. There's been widespread gear trials across Atlantic Canada and Quebec in both the lobster and snow crab fisheries, and that includes the Bay of Fundy and Scotian Shelf, the Gulf of St. Lawrence, and Newfoundland and Labrador. DevOcean, a group in Quebec, has developed a motorized rope spool system for their rope on demand system. You can see the group here and the motorized device on the right. In Nova Scotia, JASCO Applied Sciences has teamed up with Smelts with the truly ropeless system, and they've now moved ahead and have begun trials just recently. Also located in Nova Scotia, Assured Innovations has been supported in development of the Moby and Atlas ropeless systems. In this slide, you can see each of the individual sets of EdgeTech ropeless fishing system used in both Canadian and US waters. And this is an example of the ability to know exactly where individual harvesters are using gear. The previous slide was for June 2nd. This one is for June 1st, 2022. And the red grids indicate areas that are temporarily closed to fishing due to the presence of North Atlantic right whales. And the black squares are grids which have been closed permanently for the rest of the season. So it's an extensive area where there's no fishing allowed using non-tended fixed gear. Each grid is 200 square kilometers. When a whale is sighted, 9 grids are closed around the whale, and it represents 2,070 square kilometers or 800 square miles. So truly there's a great opportunity here for harvesters to access these closed areas with ropeless or rope on demand gear. Captain Martin Noel was among 19 captains selected to conduct ropeless fishing in these closed areas, and this was supported by the Atlantic Fisheries Fund. Here you can see the visuals that the skippers are seeing in their vessels when setting gear. You can see the red lines, blue. These represent strings of 10-pot trawls of snow crab pots. Lower right, the vessel Marie Caro, skippered by Stefan Fraun. You can see the lats and longs of this particular set. So a lot of information for the harvesters. This is more of a close-up view of what the captains are seeing. You can see the individual pots represented here in a 10-pot string. The reason they've gone to strings of pots is because it's less expensive compared to having an individual pot with an acoustic release. So they've did a few experimental trials and found that 10 pots seems to be a good working number. They've gone as high as 20 or more, but found that's difficult to handle with the size of the vessel, and seem to be landed on 10 pot trawls for rope on demand fishing for the snow crab fishery in the southern Gulf of St. Lawrence. Results from the Atlantic Fisheries Fund project in southern Gulf of St. Lawrence revealed some very favorable catches of snow crab and seemed to have reduced any concerns that harvesters had of the catchability of snow crab using rope on demand system. In total, 359,000 pounds of snow crab were landed during the 2022 trials, and those all went to market. It allowed harvesters to stay on a productive crab patch when a closure occurred, rather than moving their gear within 48 hours. They were able to convert it to rope on demand systems, and these harvesters would not have caught their quota if not had the opportunity to move to this type of fishing. In parallel with the Atlantic Fisheries Fund supported project for snow crab in the southern Gulf of St. Lawrence, we had the canned fish gear lending program led by the Canadian Wildlife Federation and supported by the Whale Safe Gear Fund to conduct ropeless or rope on demand fishing in the southern Gulf of St. Lawrence. We had 10 snow crab harvesters departing from Prince Edward Island. They used 3 different systems, the EdgeTech, Ropeless Riser, and Desert Star. They conducted 4 to 6 weeks of fishing activity using these devices, and similarly, these harvesters would not have fished their quota to completion if not for the ability to undertake this type of fishing. Basically, the distance from port through the closed areas to open areas prohibited really individuals to conduct fishing in an economical manner. Other support trials were using shored, dead ocean, and smelts. In order to conduct ropeless fishing, individuals or groups have to apply to DFO, and these can be done either during the off-season or during the regular fishing season. An experimental Section 52 permit has to be reviewed and by regional sectors, and these include personnel from science, resource management, conservation and protection, and species at risk. For the ones during the fishing season, we also like to see a national capital review. An important component going forward with ropeless fishing is DFO conservation and protection, basically the enforcement branch of DFO, and here we see a meeting being held in Caracat, New Brunswick, coordinated in part by Corbo Engineering, and we have snow crab harvesters and CMP staff being given instructions on how to use the EdgeTech ropeless fishing system. After about 3 to 4 years of trials now in Canadian waters, we see some challenges still remaining. And those include satellite communication, geolocation of traps on the bottom, and precision of transducers. The latter would likely be improved when the transducers are mounted into the hull of the vessels. Gear conflicts are also a concern, but I think the reason why we've had good leadership for the southern Gulf of St. Lawrence snow crab fishery is it really is not a multi-species fishery. It's conducted April to June and really in isolation of other fisheries, and has permitted this leadership going forward with using rope on demand systems. Clearly, when we have multi-species fisheries, we have a greater chance for gear conflicts, and these other harvesters will have to be aware of where the gear is set, because no surface buoys will be marking those locations, and there's a good chance for gear to be basically dragged by draggers. So it's a very important part to work out going forward to expand areas and where ropeless fishing can occur. Also, we need to improve the communication from boat to trap and trap and boat to cloud server. The training time is important for different devices, both for the CMP staff and harvesters. There are environmental constraints. High tides, deep water will be more challenging. Affordability, the Atlantic Fisheries Fund harvesters paid 50% for their EdgeTech devices, and AFF supported the other half. So clearly going forward, there'll be more responsibility on the part of the harvesters to purchase rope on demand or ropeless gear, and enforcement challenges are also remaining. Going forward, well, we've seen some very good progress. Canadian fisheries under special license are getting products to market caught using ropeless or rope on demand systems. DFO is exploring options and requirements to expand the use of ropeless rope on demand fishing. Considerations for the future: establishment of specifications for manufacturers to attain, achieving interoperability among vendors, and integration with conservation and protection. I'd like to thank you for your attention and look forward to seeing folks and joining the meeting.